The rain hammered against my windshield like an omen, cutting visibility to mere feet as I navigated the congested Chicago intersection. My wipers fought a losing battle against the downpour, and my knuckles had turned white from gripping the steering wheel. The traffic light had just turned green when a sleek black Mercedes cut me off so abruptly I had to slam on my brakes. My coffee erupted from its cup, scalding my thighs through my pants and splattering across the dashboard. "Son of a bitch!" I shouted, slamming my palm against the horn. To my surprise, the Mercedes pulled over to the curb ahead, hazard lights blinking through the rain. I followed, more out of principle than anything else. The damage appeared minimal, just a slight scrape on my front bumper. But the disrespect of it burned hotter than the coffee soaking through my pants. I stepped out into the downpour without an umbrella, instantly drenched as I approached the Mercedes. The man who emerged wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He stood confidently in the rain, as if it wouldn't dare ruin his perfect appearance. Water beaded on his expensive wool coat, while his salt and pepper hair remained immaculately styled. Everything about him radiated wealth and self-assurance. "Sorry about that," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "Came out of nowhere, didn't you?" He extended a manicured hand. "Jason Cole." I reluctantly shook it, noticing the Rolex gleaming on his wrist. "Michael Harrison, and for the record, I had the right of way." His eyes flickered with something, recognition, perhaps, before he smiled with perfect white teeth. "Harrison? You wouldn't happen to be married to Amanda Harrison, works at Summit Financial?" The question hit me like another car. How did this stranger know my wife? "Yes," I answered cautiously. "How do you know Amanda?" Jason's smile widened. "Chicago's financial circles are smaller than you'd think. I've attended a few industry events where she was present. Brilliant woman. Your wife. Very impressive." Something in his tone, a slight emphasis on the word impressive, sent an uncomfortable sensation crawling up my spine. "Yes, she is," I replied stiffly, rain dripping down my collar. Jason glanced at our cars. "Well, no real damage done. Let's just call it a near miss and move on, shall we? I'm already late for an appointment." I should have pressed him for insurance information, but something about this man made me want to end our interaction as quickly as possible. "Fine by me." As I turned to go, he called after me. "Say hello to Amanda for me. Tell her Jason from Meridian Capital sends his regards." I nodded without turning back, but my stomach had tightened into a knot. As I got into my car, I watched Jason check his phone with a self-satisfied smirk before driving away, his Mercedes gliding through the rain like a shark through dark water. The encounter left me deeply unsettled. In 12 years of marriage, Amanda had never mentioned a Jason Cole from Meridian Capital. Of course, she dealt with dozens of clients and industry contacts every day as a senior financial advisor. There was probably nothing to it, but the way he'd said her name lingered in my mind. The slight curve of his lips, the knowing look in his eyes. When I arrived home that evening, our suburban house glowed with warmth against the gloomy weather. Nathan, our 10-year-old son, was at a sleepover with his best friend, leaving the house quieter than usual. I found Amanda in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. She looked stunning as always, her blonde hair falling in perfect waves around her shoulders, makeup immaculate despite having worked all day, wearing a form-fitting dress I didn't recognize. "Hey, babe," she said, looking up with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She crossed the kitchen to kiss my cheek, her perfume enveloping me, an expensive scent I didn't remember buying her. "How was your day?" "Interesting," I replied, watching her closely. "I almost got into an accident with a guy who claims he knows you." Jason Cole, from Meridian Capital, drives a black Mercedes. Her knife paused momentarily over the cutting board. If I hadn't been looking for it, I might have missed the slight tensing of her shoulders, the almost imperceptible hitch in her breath before she resumed chopping with renewed vigor. "Jason Cole. Oh, right. He's a potential investor. We've had a couple of meetings." She kept her eyes on the vegetables. "Nothing came of it, though. His portfolio wasn't a good fit for our strategies." "He seemed to know you pretty well," I pressed. "Told me to give you his regards." Amanda laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Michael, I meet dozens of people every week. It's my job to make them feel like we've known each other forever. That's how you build client relationships." She scraped the vegetables into a pan where they sizzled loudly. "Besides, men like Jason Cole think they know every woman they meet. He's just another pompous investment banker with an ego bigger than his portfolio. Her dismissal should have reassured me, but something felt off. The Amanda I'd married 12 years ago had been an open book. This Amanda had started locking her phone, taking calls in another room, and working later hours. "Oh, I meant to tell you," she said, clearly changing the subject. "I have that financial planning conference in Boston next week. Wednesday through Friday. I booked my flights yesterday." "Another conference? Didn't you just go to one last month in Denver?" "Different focus," she said smoothly. "This one's about retirement planning strategies. The firm wants me to expand our senior portfolio offerings." I nodded, trying to ignore my growing unease. Amanda had been attending a lot of conferences lately. Each time she returned, she seemed more distant, as if part of her remained wherever she'd been. That night, I couldn't sleep. Amanda's gentle breathing beside me felt like a lie. After an hour of staring at the ceiling, I slipped out of bed and padded down the hallway to her home office. Her work laptop sat on the desk, closed and locked with a password I didn't know. Her briefcase, however, was partially open on the chair. I felt a twinge of guilt as I reached for it, then steeled myself. 12 years of trust had earned me the benefit of the doubt, hadn't it? Inside were receipts, business cards, and her leather-bound day planner. I flipped through it, scanning the entries until I reached next week. Wednesday through Friday was indeed blocked off, but it wasn't labeled Boston Conference. Instead, it simply read J.C. Lake House, with a small heart drawn next to it. J.C. Jason Cole. My blood ran cold. I flipped back through the planner, finding similar entries over the past few months. J.C. 2 p.m. appeared every Tuesday, like clockwork, and all those conferences out of town. Denver last month had been labeled J.C. Mountains. I carefully returned everything to its place, my mind racing. I wasn't typically jealous or suspicious, but too many coincidences were piling up. I needed more information before confronting Amanda. If she was cheating, I wanted irrefutable proof. And if this was somehow all innocent, I needed to be certain before making accusations that could damage our marriage. The next morning, I dropped Nathan off at school and drove to my office at Thompson Engineering, where I'd worked as a systems engineer for 15 years. Instead of focusing on the bridge design project on my desk, I searched Amanda's name alongside Jason Cole's online. Nothing immediate came up, but I did find his LinkedIn profile. Jason Cole, Senior Investment Advisor at Meridian Capital. His profile picture matched the man I'd met. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, confident smile that bordered on arrogant. I dug deeper. His public Instagram showed a lifestyle well beyond what even a successful investment banker should afford. Private jets, a yacht, vacations in Monaco and Bali. The comments section on one photo caught my eye. A simple heart emoji from a profile with no picture, just the initials AH, Amanda Harrison. A text message alert broke my concentration. Amanda, working late tonight. Don't wait up for dinner. Love you. Working late. Again. That night, I waited until Amanda was in the shower before checking her credit card statements online. Most charges were routine. Grocery stores, gas stations, department stores. But every Tuesday for the past 3 months, there was a charge from the Lakeview Hotel downtown. Always around 2 p.m., always for the same amount. Tuesday was tomorrow. I barely slept that night. When morning came, Amanda dressed with extra care, choosing a form-fitting dress I hadn't seen before, and applying makeup that seemed more suitable for a date than a day at the office. "Big presentation today," I asked casually over breakfast. "Client meeting," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Potential 7-figure portfolio." I nodded. "Good luck. Knock 'em dead." Nathan looked up from his cereal. "Can we get pizza tonight, Mom?" Amanda ruffled his hair. "Sorry, buddy. I might be home late. Dad can order you pizza, though." She kissed the top of his head, then grabbed her briefcase. "Love you both." As the door closed behind her, Nathan turned to me. "Mom's always working late now." The simple observation from my 10-year-old son felt like a knife to my heart. "She's very important at her company," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "People rely on her." "I rely on her too," he said quietly, returning to his cereal. After dropping Nathan at school, I called my office and took a personal day. Something I'd done maybe twice in 15 years. Then I waited an hour before driving downtown towards Summit Financial. I parked across the street, feeling ridiculous and ashamed. Was this what my life had come to? Spying on my wife. At 1:30 p.m., Amanda emerged from the building's revolving doors. Instead of turning toward the nearby client lunch spots, she walked briskly in the opposite direction. I followed at a distance, my heart pounding with each step. She turned onto Michigan Avenue, then ducked into a high-end lingerie store. 15 minutes later, she emerged with a small bag and hailed a taxi. I followed in my car, maintaining distance, until the taxi stopped outside the Lakeview Hotel. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Amanda stepped out, checked her appearance in a compact mirror, and walked confidently into the hotel. A wave of nausea hit me. Part of me wanted to storm in after her, to catch her in the act and confront them both. But another part, a colder, more calculating part, knew that approach would only lead to denials and half-truths. If Amanda was cheating, I needed undeniable proof. And if this was somehow all innocent, I needed to be sure before making accusations that could irreparably damage our marriage. I parked and entered the hotel lobby, hanging back near a large potted plant. The elegant space bustled with business travelers and tourists. Amanda was nowhere to be seen, but as I watched, a familiar figure strode across the marble floor toward the elevators. Jason Cole, checking his watch impatiently. My blood ran cold. I waited 10 minutes before approaching the front desk, where a young man with a name tag reading Kevin greeted me with a professional smile. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you?" I leaned in confidentially. "I'm supposed to be meeting my wife and her colleague for a surprise anniversary planning session. She texted me to come to their meeting room but didn't say which one. Amanda Harrison, or possibly under Jason Cole." Kevin typed on his computer. "I don't see any meeting rooms booked under those names, sir." He hesitated, then added, "However, Mr. Cole is a regular guest. He has a standing reservation for Suite 1214 every Tuesday." Every Tuesday, just like the credit card charges, just like the entries in Amanda's planner. "Perfect," I said, forcing a smile. "That must be it. Can you call up and let them know I've arrived?" "I'd be happy to," Kevin said, reaching for the phone. "Actually," I interjected quickly, "I'd like to surprise them. Could you possibly give me a key card? It's our anniversary and, well," I gave a conspiratorial wink. Kevin looked uncertain. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't provide a key to a room that's not in your name." Of course, I said, slipping him a $50 bill. "I completely understand. Perhaps just tell me which elevator bank to use. I'll text my wife from there." The bribe worked. With directions to the proper elevator, I rode up to the 12th floor, my heart pounding. The hallway was silent except for the distant sound of a vacuum cleaner. Suite 1214 was at the end of the corridor, a do not disturb sign hanging from the doorknob. I stood there frozen. What now? I hadn't exactly thought this through. Knocking would only alert them, giving Amanda time to compose herself or hide. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. As if answering my dilemma, a hotel maid rounded the corner with her cart. Seeing me, she smiled politely. "Do you need help, sir?" An idea formed. "Yes, actually. I've locked myself out, and my wife is in the shower. She can't hear me knock." I gestured to Suite 1214. "Could you let me in?" She looked hesitant. "I'm supposed to check ID." I pulled out my wallet, showing her my driver's license. "Michael Harrison. I'm staying here with my wife, Amanda Harrison." The lie came easily, fueled by the anger and betrayal building inside me. The maid glanced at my ID and then at my wedding ring. With a sympathetic smile, she used her master key to unlock the door. "There you go, Mr. Harrison." "Thank you," I said, waiting until she continued down the hallway before gently turning the handle. The suite was spacious and elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. From the entryway, I could see an open bottle of champagne and 2 glasses on the coffee table. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. And then I heard it, Amanda's laugh, followed by a deep male voice from the bedroom. "You're insatiable. You know that." Jason's voice carried through the partially open door. "You bring it out in me," Amanda replied, her voice low and sultry in a way I hadn't heard in years. Michael never could. The casual mention of my name was like a physical blow. I moved silently across the plush carpet, my body on autopilot. The bedroom door was partially open. Through the gap I saw them, Amanda and Jason, tangled in the sheets of a king-size bed. Her head was thrown back in pleasure, her blonde hair splayed across the pillows. Jason's hands moved possessively over her body, touching my wife in ways that made me sick to my stomach. "God, you're so much better than him," Amanda moaned. "So much bigger, so much stronger." "And you're mine now," Jason growled, grabbing her roughly. "Tell me you're mine." I'm yours, she whispered. Only yours. I didn't make a sound. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped several photos, then a short video. The evidence secure, I retreated as quietly as I had entered, closing the suite door gently behind me. In the elevator down, I felt strangely calm. The rage would come later, I knew. But in that moment, I felt only a cold clarity. Amanda had betrayed me, betrayed our family, betrayed the life we'd built together. And Jason Cole wasn't just her lover. Based on what I'd seen online, something didn't add up about his finances either. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a daze, walking aimlessly through downtown Chicago as rain started falling again. The images of Amanda with Jason played on, repeated in my mind, along with her cruel words. By the time I picked up Nathan from school, I had composed myself enough to act normal, though my son noticed something was off. "Are you okay, Dad?" he asked as we drove home. "You look sad." I forced a smile. "Just tired, buddy. Tough day at work. Can we still get pizza since Mom's working late?" "Absolutely," I agreed, grateful for the distraction. "Any toppings you want." We are. When Amanda finally came home around 10 p.m., Nathan was already asleep. She smelled of expensive perfume and guilt, her hair slightly damp from what I assumed was a post-coital shower at the hotel. "Hey," she said softly, slipping off her heels. "Sorry I'm so late. Client dinner ran long." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Are you okay?" she asked, coming closer. "You seem distant." "Just tired," I echoed my explanation to Nathan. "Long day." She kissed my cheek, and it took every ounce of self-control not to recoil. "I'm going to take a shower and head to bed. Coming up soon." "In a bit," I managed. As she climbed the stairs, I watched the woman I thought I knew disappear around the corner. The woman who, just hours ago, had been in another man's bed, declaring herself his while belittling her husband, the father of her child. Instead of confronting Amanda that evening, I greeted her with robotic normalcy, pretending nothing was amiss. I needed time to think, to plan. If Amanda was going to destroy our family, I wanted to know everything I was dealing with. The next day, I began my investigation in earnest. I used my technical skills to install tracking software on her phone while she showered, giving me access to her messages, emails, and location. Then I took a week off work, telling both Amanda and my boss it was for a special project. While Amanda was at the office and Nathan at school, I followed the digital breadcrumbs. What I discovered sickened me. Amanda and Jason's affair had begun 4 months ago, after meeting at a financial industry mixer. Their messages were explicit, detailed descriptions of their encounters, complaints about me, plans for their future trysts. Jason called her his sexy little financial advisor and joked about her managing his assets. But as I dug deeper into Jason's background, something even more disturbing emerged. His social media presence showcased wealth, but court records told a different story. Jason Cole had 2 bankruptcies in his past and was currently being sued by several former clients. His employment at Meridian Capital appeared legitimate, but his lifestyle far exceeded his salary. I expanded my search, using skills I developed securing engineering databases to access financial records I probably shouldn't have been able to see. What I found stunned me. Jason was deeply in debt to people you didn't want to owe money to. He had gambling problems and had taken out high-interest loans from shadowy sources. And most damning of all, there were unexplained transfers from Summit Financial client accounts to offshore entities that then filtered money back to accounts that appeared connected to Jason. Amanda's login credentials had been used to authorize some of these transfers. Either my wife was being manipulated by a con man, or she was actively participating in financial fraud. Neither option offered much comfort, but I needed to know which was true. I hired a private investigator, an old college friend who'd gone into security work, to follow Jason and document his activities. Within days, we had evidence of Jason meeting with known loan sharks, gambling at underground poker games, and, most significantly, having similar Tuesday appointments with 2 other women, both financial professionals at different firms. "Your wife isn't special to him," my friend told me bluntly as he showed me photos of Jason escorting another blonde woman into the same hotel. "She's just one of his pawns." The picture became clear. Jason was using sex to manipulate women with access to financial accounts, then using that access to siphon funds. The amounts were carefully calculated to avoid immediate detection, never more than could be attributed to market fluctuations or fees, but over time, they added up to millions. I spent sleepless nights poring over documents, tracking money movements, building a case not just against Jason, but potentially against my own wife. During the day, I maintained a facade of normalcy, helping Nathan with homework, making small talk with Amanda over dinner, all while knowing she was planning to meet her lover at a lake house the following week. "Are you sure you have to go to Boston?" I asked casually one night as she packed her suitcase. "Nathan has that science fair on Thursday." Amanda barely looked up. "I can't get out of it. It's mandatory for senior advisors. I'll make it up to him when I get back." "What's the conference about again?" I pressed. "Retirement planning strategies," she said without hesitation, the lie coming easily to her. "Optimizing long-term yields in volatile markets." I nodded, watching her carefully fold lingerie that I knew I'd never seen her wear. "Sounds fascinating." "It won't be," she laughed, "but the firm's paying for a nice hotel, so at least there's that." A nice hotel? I wondered if she realized the irony of that statement. On Wednesday morning, I drove Amanda to the airport, maintaining the charade. As soon as she was through security, I called the private investigator. "She's on her way. Are you set up at the lake house?" "All good," he confirmed. "Long-range cameras are in place. If they so much as hold hands on the deck, we'll have it documented." While Amanda spent her conference with Jason at his lake house, I finalized my plan. I compiled a detailed dossier on his activities, including dates, transactions, and connections to all three women he was manipulating. I backed up everything on secure servers and sent encrypted copies to my lawyer with instructions to release them if anything happened to me. Then I scheduled a meeting with Summit Financial's head of security, an ex-police officer named Robert Dawson. Without revealing Amanda's involvement, I presented evidence of suspicious transactions from client accounts. Robert's face grew increasingly grave as he reviewed the documents. "This is serious," he said finally. "We're talking about wire fraud, embezzlement, possibly even RICO violations. How did you come across this information, Mr. Harrison?" "I'm an engineer," I said simply. "I notice patterns. When something affects my family, I pay attention." Robert studied me for a long moment. "Does this have something to do with your wife?" I met his gaze steadily. "I believe she's being manipulated by the man orchestrating this scheme. Whether she's a willing participant or not is something I'm still determining." He nodded slowly. "I'll need to take this to our legal team and likely to the authorities. Securities fraud is a federal offense." "I understand," I said. "I just ask for discretion until all the facts are known. For my son's sake." "Of course," he agreed. "We'll handle this carefully." That Friday, Amanda returned from her conference looking relaxed and rejuvenated. She brought Nathan a Boston snow globe and me a bottle of expensive whiskey. Her performative guilt made me nauseous. "How was Boston?" I asked as we prepared for bed. "Productive," she said vaguely, "but I missed you both." "Did you learn anything useful at the conference?" She launched into a rehearsed description of fictional panels and speakers, constructing an elaborate lie with the ease of someone who had done it many times before. I wondered how long she had been deceiving me, how many other lies I had swallowed without question. The following Monday, Summit Financial's security team coordinated with federal authorities to begin a formal investigation. By Wednesday, they had gathered enough evidence to move forward with legal action. I received a call from Robert Dawson while at work. "It's happening today," he said grimly. "They're bringing Cole in for questioning and executing search warrants at his properties. Your wife will likely be questioned as well." "What about the other women involved?" I asked. "Similar situation. We're treating them as potential accomplices until proven otherwise." I took a deep breath. "Thank you for the heads up." "Michael," Robert added hesitantly, "I've seen the messages between your wife and Cole. I feel I should warn you. They're explicit, and some contain disparaging comments about you." My grip tightened on the phone. "I'm aware of the nature of their relationship." "I'm sorry," he said simply. "No one deserves that kind of betrayal." That evening, Amanda came home pale and shaken. I was in the kitchen helping Nathan with his math homework when she entered, her designer handbag clutched to her chest like a shield. "Nathan, why don't you finish that upstairs?" I suggested. "I need to talk to your mom." Once Nathan was out of earshot, Amanda collapsed onto a kitchen chair. "They arrested Jason today," she whispered, "right in the middle of the office. Federal agents just walked in and put him in handcuffs." I kept my expression neutral. "What for?" "They're saying he stole money from clients. Millions of dollars." Her voice trembled. "They questioned me for hours, Michael. They have records of transfers that came from my terminal, my login credentials." "Did you do it?" I asked quietly. No, she insisted, tears welling in her eyes. I would never steal from clients. Jason must have accessed my computer somehow, used my passwords. And why would Jason have access to your work computer, Amanda? She froze, suddenly realizing the trap she'd walked into. We were working on a joint project. Stop lying, I said coldly, placing my phone on the table between us. I pressed play on a video, her and Jason in the hotel room, naked and entwined. I know everything. All color drained from her face. You followed me. I didn't have to follow you far. The Lakeview Hotel is only a few blocks from your office. Very convenient for your Tuesday afternoon appointments with Jason. Amanda stared at the video, then at me, her composure crumbling. Michael, I can explain. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A mistake you've been making for 4 months, I interrupted. A mistake you documented in hundreds of text messages, calling me boring and predictable. A mistake that led you to help him steal from your clients. I didn't steal anything, she cried. I didn't know what he was doing. Then you're either complicit or incompetent, I said flatly. Either way, your career is over. Amanda lunged for my phone, but I pulled it away. Delete that video right now, she demanded. If anyone sees that, the federal investigators already have copies, I said calmly, along with your text messages, hotel receipts, and records of your conferences that never existed. She stared at me in dawning horror. You did this. You turned me in. I turned in a financial criminal who happened to be sleeping with my wife, I corrected her. The fact that you were involved is your responsibility, not mine. How could you do this to me? She whispered. To our family. The audacity of her question snapped something inside me. How could I? How could you, Amanda? You threw away 12 years of marriage for hotel room quickies with a con man. You missed your son's science fair to meet your lover at a lake house. You used my credit cards to buy lingerie for another man. My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. And you have the nerve to ask how I could do this to you. Upstairs, a door closed softly. Nathan, likely retreating from the sound of our argument. The realization that our son could hear us fighting doused my anger like cold water. We have a child, I said, lowering my voice. A child who deserves better than what you've done to this family. Amanda's tears flowed freely now, mascara creating dark rivers down her cheeks. I made a terrible mistake, Michael. I got caught up in the excitement, the attention. Jason made me feel desired, important. And I didn't. The question came out more wounded than I intended. You stopped seeing me years ago, she said bitterly. You saw the mother of your child, your comfortable wife. Not a woman with needs and desires. So your solution was to cheat, to risk everything we built. There's a word for that, Amanda. Selfish. She flinched. What happens now? Now you deal with the consequences of your actions, I said, standing up. Legally and personally. I'll be filing for divorce and seeking custody of Nathan. You can't take my son. The desperation in her voice turned to anger. No judge will give you full custody. A mother who abandoned her family responsibilities to sleep with a criminal, I said evenly. A mother who may be facing charges for financial fraud. A mother who put her selfish desires above her child's well-being. You really want to test that theory in court? Her face crumpled. I never meant to hurt Nathan. Or you. I love you both. If this is how you show love, we're better off without it. I headed for the stairs. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I suggest you find somewhere else to stay while we sort out the legal details. Michael, wait, she called after me, her voice breaking. Please, we can fix this. Couples therapy, a fresh start, anything. Don't throw away 12 years over one mistake. I turned back to look at her. This stranger wearing my wife's face. You already threw it away, Amanda. I'm just acknowledging what's already broken. That night, as I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. I am not your property. You're controlling and cold. Jason made me feel alive. This is as much your fault as mine. I didn't respond. Her true colors were finally showing, and they were uglier than I'd imagined. The next morning, I woke to find Amanda already gone, a note on the kitchen counter stating she was staying with her sister until things calmed down. I called my lawyer to begin divorce proceedings, then sat Nathan down for the hardest conversation of my life. Buddy, I need to talk to you about something serious, I began as he pushed his cereal around the bowl. Mom and I are having some problems, and we're going to be living apart for a while. His small face crumpled. Is it because you were fighting last night? Partly, I admitted. Sometimes adults make mistakes that hurt the people they love, even when they don't mean to. Did Mom make a mistake? He asked perceptively. I hesitated, not wanting to demonize Amanda but refusing to lie. Yes, she did. And so did I, in different ways. But none of this is your fault, Nathan. We both love you very much, and that will never change. Are you and Mom getting divorced like Tommy's parents? The direct question caught me off guard. Probably yes, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still your parents. Nathan's eyes welled with tears. Will I still see Mom? Of course you will, I assured him, pulling him into a hug. She's always going to be your mom, no matter what. As I held my son, I felt his small body shake with sobs, and a surge of anger toward Amanda rose within me. Her selfish choices had brought us to this point, forcing a 10-year-old to face adult problems he shouldn't have to understand. The following weeks were a blur of legal meetings, counseling sessions for Nathan, and damage control as news of the scandal spread. Jason Cole was indicted on multiple federal charges, including wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he quickly offered to cooperate in exchange for leniency, implicating Amanda and the other women without hesitation. She knew exactly what she was doing, he claimed in his statement. Amanda said her husband was too dense to notice anything, and her firm's security protocols were a joke. She helped me identify which accounts to target. When I learned of his statement, something inside me hardened permanently. Even if Amanda hadn't actively participated in the fraud, she had betrayed me in every way possible, physically, emotionally, and now it seemed by mocking me to her lover. Summit Financial terminated Amanda's employment and cooperated fully with prosecutors. Several of her clients, once informed of the suspicious activity in their accounts, filed civil suits against both the firm and Amanda personally. Her professional reputation was in tatters, her licenses suspended, pending the outcome of the investigation. Through it all, I focused on providing stability for Nathan. I took a leave of absence from work to be available for him, helped with homework, attended his soccer games, and tried to shield him from the worst of the legal and media fallout. While Amanda fought for her freedom and reputation, I fought for our son's emotional well-being. Amanda's attorney attempted to construct a narrative portraying her as a naive victim, manipulated by a master con man. But the evidence, particularly the explicit text messages in which she disparaged me and discussed the financial scheme, made this defense increasingly untenable. 3 months after that fateful day at the Lakeview Hotel, Amanda was indicted on multiple counts of fraud and financial malfeasance. The prosecutor offered her a deal: plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for testimony against Jason Cole and the other co-conspirators. Her attorney advised her to take it. The day before she was to accept the plea deal, Amanda appeared at our house unannounced. She looked terrible, thin, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. The polished financial advisor was gone, replaced by a desperate woman on the brink of losing everything. I need to talk to you, she said when I opened the door. Please, Michael. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Nathan was at soccer practice, so we had privacy. I'm taking the deal, she said without preamble. 18 months in a minimum security facility, followed by 3 years of probation. I'll lose my financial licenses permanently. I nodded. Seems fair, considering the alternatives. That's it. Her voice rose. That's all you have to say. My life is ruined, and you stand there like it has nothing to do with you. What exactly did you expect, Amanda? I kept my voice level. Sympathy, understanding. You betrayed our marriage, potentially helped steal from innocent people, and then tried to paint me as the villain when you got caught. I made mistakes, she admitted, her voice breaking. Terrible ones. But I'm still Nathan's mother. I need to know you won't try to keep him from me after I've served my time. Nathan's welfare is my only concern, I said firmly. If you demonstrate that you can be a positive influence in his life, I won't stand in the way of a relationship. But it will be on my terms, at least until he's old enough to decide for himself. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for any of this to happen, Michael. Jason made me feel special, desired. I got caught up in the excitement. And the money, I added coldly. Don't forget that part. Was it worth it? Trading your family, your career, your freedom for a few orgasms and some extra cash? Amanda flinched as if I'd slapped her. You're a cruel man, Michael Harrison. I never saw that before. And you're a liar and a cheat, I replied evenly. I guess we never really knew each other at all. As she turned to leave, she paused at the door. He was right about one thing, you know. You are cold. Maybe if you hadn't been so emotionally unavailable, none of this would have happened. I laughed without humor, still blaming others for your choices. Some things never change. The divorce was finalized while Amanda served her sentence. I received primary custody of Nathan, with Amanda granted supervised visitation upon her release. Our house was sold to pay legal fees and settlements, and I moved with Nathan to a comfortable apartment closer to my office. Jason Cole received 12 years in federal prison for his role as the mastermind of the scheme. The total amount stolen from various clients across multiple firms exceeded $4.7 million, most of which was never recovered from the offshore accounts where he'd hidden it. 6 months into Amanda's sentence, Nathan and I had established a new routine. He had adapted better than I expected, showing a resilience that made me proud. We visited Amanda monthly at the correctional facility, awkward encounters that left Nathan quiet and withdrawn afterward. Does Mom hate it there? He asked after one such visit. I'm sure she does, I answered honestly. It's not a pleasant place to be. Is it my fault she's there? His question broke my heart. Absolutely not, I said firmly. Your mom made adult choices that had consequences. None of this is your fault, Nathan. Life went on. I eventually returned to work full-time, with Nathan attending an after-school program until I could pick him up. We settled into our new normal: weekend movies, homework at the kitchen table, soccer games, and the occasional pizza night. The pain didn't disappear, but it became manageable, a dull ache rather than the sharp agony of fresh betrayal. A year into Amanda's sentence, I received a letter from her. The envelope sat unopened on my desk for 3 days before I finally found the courage to read it. Dear Michael, it began. As I approach the halfway point of my sentence, I've had a lot of time to reflect on the choices that brought me here. I want you to know that I take full responsibility for what I did, both to our marriage and in my professional life. No more excuses, no more blaming you or circumstances or Jason Cole. I betrayed you, I betrayed Nathan, and I betrayed myself. The letter continued for several pages, a seemingly heartfelt apology and reflection on her failings. She wrote about the counseling she was receiving, her newfound spiritual faith, and her hope that someday I could forgive her, if not for her sake, then for Nathan's. I read it twice, searching for the manipulation, the hidden agenda, but it seemed genuine, perhaps the first honest communication from Amanda in years. Still, words were easy. Actions would tell the true story when she was released. As Nathan approached his 12th birthday, Amanda's release date loomed. She would return to a world where her professional reputation was destroyed, her marriage over, her role as a mother severely restricted. Her sister had agreed to let her stay temporarily, but Amanda's long-term prospects remained bleak. 2 weeks before her release, I received a phone call from the correctional facility. Amanda had been involved in an altercation with another inmate and had been placed in solitary confinement, delaying her release date by 30 days. When Nathan and I visited that weekend, she appeared withdrawn and defeated. I'm sorry, she told Nathan, her voice hollow. I wanted to be there for your birthday. It's okay, Mom, he said quietly. Dad's taking me and some friends to Six Flags instead. I saw the pain flash across her face. Another milestone missed, another memory created without her. For the first time, I felt a twinge of sympathy for the woman who had once been my wife. She had lost everything because of her choices, and no amount of regret could change that reality. When Amanda was finally released, she emerged from the correctional facility, a shadow of her former self. The confident, polished financial advisor was gone, replaced by a thin, pale woman with dull eyes and premature lines etched into her face. Nathan and I waited in the parking lot, an awkward welcoming committee for a homecoming no one had imagined. You came, she said, surprise evident in her voice. Nathan wanted to, I explained, placing a protective hand on our son's shoulder. She knelt to hug Nathan, who returned the embrace stiffly. I missed you so much, sweetie. I missed you too, Mom, he replied, though his eyes told a different story. The wariness of a child who had learned that adults could disappoint you in profound ways. We drove Amanda to her sister's house in uncomfortable silence. As Nathan waited in the car, I helped her carry her few belongings to the door. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for bringing him, for not poisoning him against me." "He deserves to know his mother," I replied. "Whatever happened between us doesn't change that." She nodded, then hesitated. "Michael, do you think there's any chance someday that we could?" "No," I interrupted gently but firmly. "That chapter is closed, Amanda. For good." Her eyes filled with tears. "I still love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do." "Maybe you do," I conceded. "But love without trust isn't enough." It never was. As Nathan and I drove away, he glanced back at his mother, standing alone on the doorstep. "She looks sad," he observed. "She is sad," I agreed. "She lost a lot." "Are you still sad, Dad?" I considered the question carefully. "Not as much anymore. I'm mostly grateful for what I still have, especially you." He nodded, seemingly satisfied with my answer. "Me too." In the months that followed, Amanda struggled to rebuild her life. With her financial licenses permanently revoked, she took a job as a cashier at a grocery store. A humiliating fall for someone who had once managed millions in assets. Her supervised visitations with Nathan were awkward at first, but gradually improved as she focused solely on being his mother rather than trying to rebuild what she had destroyed with me. I dated occasionally, though nothing serious developed. The betrayal had left scars that made it difficult to trust completely. Nathan remained my priority, his well-being the center around which my decisions revolved. A year after her release, Amanda called me in tears. "I saw them together," she sobbed. "Jason's wife and children visiting him in prison. Did you know he was married the whole time? That he had 3 kids? I was just his side piece, his patsy. He never cared about me at all." "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. Despite everything, I took no pleasure in her pain. "I threw everything away for a man who was using me," she continued bitterly. "My marriage, my career, my relationship with my son. And for what? For absolutely nothing." I had no answer for her. Some realizations came too late to be useful, only painful. That night, after putting Nathan to bed, I sat alone in my apartment, thinking about the twisted path that had led us here. Amanda had made her choices, but I wondered if I could have done something differently, been more attentive, more demonstrative, more aware of the cracks forming in our foundation. My phone buzzed with a text message from Amanda. "I miss our family every day. I know it's my fault we lost it all. I just want you to know I'm sorry, Michael. Truly sorry." For the first time, I replied, "I believe you." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was acknowledgement, recognition that behind the betrayal and lies was a flawed human being who had made catastrophic mistakes and was living with the consequences. 2 years after Amanda's release, I received a call from her sister. Amanda had been hospitalized after a suicide attempt. Pills and alcohol discovered by a neighbor who heard her crying through the thin apartment walls. "She left a note," her sister told me, voice thick with emotion. "It was addressed to you and Nathan." I went to the hospital alone, unsure of what I would say or do. Amanda lay pale against the white sheets, wrist bandaged where IV lines delivered fluids and medication. Her eyes fluttered open when I entered the room. "Michael," she whispered, disbelief coloring her voice. "You came." "Your sister called me," I explained, sitting in the chair beside her bed. "She told me about the note." Amanda turned her face away, shame evident in every line of her body. "I didn't want you to see me like this. I couldn't see a way forward anymore. Nothing to live for." "You have Nathan," I reminded her gently. "He needs his mother." "Does he?" she asked bitterly. "He has you. You're twice the parent I ever was. He's better off without me screwing up his life more than I already have." "That's not true, and it's not your decision to make," I said firmly. "Whatever mistakes you've made, taking yourself out of his life permanently would be the worst one yet." She looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "Why are you being kind to me, after everything I did to you?" I considered the question carefully. "Because holding on to anger hurts me more than it hurts you. Because Nathan deserves to have 2 parents who can at least be civil to each other. And because I remember the woman I married before all of this. She wasn't all bad." Tears slipped down Amanda's cheeks. "I don't know how to live with what I've done, with what I've lost. One day at a time," I said simply. "It's all any of us can do." As I left the hospital, I felt a weight lifting, not completely but noticeably. The rage that had consumed me had gradually transformed into something quieter, a determination to build a good life for my son and myself from the wreckage Amanda had left behind, while allowing her the dignity of doing the same if she could. Amanda spent 6 weeks in a psychiatric facility before being released with a treatment plan and regular therapy appointments. Her sister moved in with her temporarily, ensuring she wasn't alone during the critical early recovery period. Slowly, tentatively, she began rebuilding her relationship with Nathan, focusing on being present for the time they had together, rather than lamenting what she had lost. I maintained a respectful distance, interacting with Amanda only regarding Nathan's needs and schedule. The wounds were too deep for friendship, but we managed a civil co-parenting relationship that prioritized our son's well-being above our complicated history. 3 years after the affair that had destroyed our family, I sat in the bleachers at Nathan's middle school basketball game. Amanda sat several rows away, cheering enthusiastically as our son made a basket. When the game ended, Nathan ran to me first, then to his mother, accepting hugs from both of us with the awkward tolerance of a teenager. "Great game, buddy," I said, ruffling his hair. "Thanks, Dad." He turned to Amanda. "Did you see my three-pointer, Mom?" "I did," she beamed. "You were amazing." As Nathan went to change, Amanda approached me hesitantly. "He's growing up so fast. I feel like I'm missing everything important." "You're here now," I pointed out. "That counts for something." She nodded, a sad smile playing at her lips. "Thanks for saying that, and thanks for not hating me. You'd have every right to." "Hate takes too much energy," I said honestly. "I've got better uses for mine these days." As we walked toward the parking lot, Amanda's phone rang. She glanced at it, then declined the call with a grimace. "Everything okay?" I asked, more out of politeness than genuine concern. "Just work," she sighed. "The manager at the grocery store keeps changing my schedule last minute. It's hard to plan visits with Nathan when my hours are so unpredictable." I nodded sympathetically. The fall from successful financial advisor to grocery cashier had been steep and unforgiving. Amanda's criminal record made finding better employment nearly impossible. "I've been thinking about going back to school," she continued. "Maybe get certified as a teacher's aide or something. I need to find work that has meaning, something that matters." "That sounds positive," I encouraged her. "Nathan would be proud to see you rebuilding." Her eyes welled with unexpected tears. "Do you really think so? Sometimes I worry he sees me as nothing but a failure. The mom who went to prison and ruined everything." "He sees you trying," I assured her. "That counts for a lot at his age." As Nathan emerged from the locker room, Amanda wiped her eyes quickly. "See you at his band concert next week." "I'll be there," I promised. Watching them walk to Amanda's used compact car, a far cry from the luxury sedan she once drove, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. The woman who had betrayed me so completely was paying a steep price for her choices. Her career was gone, her reputation shattered, her relationship with her son damaged, though slowly healing. She lived in a small apartment, worked a minimum wage job, and spent holidays alone while Nathan celebrated with me and my extended family. Justice had been served, perhaps more harshly than even I would have chosen. And yet, seeing her struggle to rebuild from nothing, I found no satisfaction in her suffering, only a quiet acknowledgement that actions have consequences and some mistakes change the trajectory of a life forever. That evening, as Nathan and I ate dinner in our apartment, he surprised me with a question. "Dad, do you think Mom will ever be happy again?" I put down my fork, considering how to answer. "I think happiness is a choice we make every day, buddy. Your mom made some bad choices that had serious consequences, but that doesn't mean she can't find happiness again, in different ways." He nodded thoughtfully. "She seems really sad all the time, even when she smiles." "She lost a lot," I acknowledged, "but she still has you, and that's the most important thing to her." "What about you?" he asked perceptively. "Are you happy?" I smiled at my son, this insightful, resilient boy who had weathered the storm of his parents' broken marriage with remarkable grace. "I am. Not in the same way I once was, maybe, but I have you, my work, our life together. That's plenty to be happy about." Later that night, after Nathan had gone to bed, I found myself looking at old family photos on my phone, images of happier times when we were still intact as a family. Amanda's betrayal had broken something in me, a trust and innocence that could never be fully restored. But the breaking had revealed strengths I hadn't known I possessed. Resilience, self-reliance, a capacity for forgiveness that surprised even me. My phone buzzed with a text message from Amanda. Thank you for today, for letting me be part of his life despite everything. I don't deserve your kindness, but I'm grateful for it. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. We all deserve a second chance. Not at the same life, but at a different one. Make yours count. As I set the phone down, I felt an unexpected sense of closure. The anger that had fueled me through the darkest days of betrayal and divorce had finally burned itself out, leaving behind the quiet understanding that life rarely follows the path we expect, but can still lead to something worthwhile. Amanda would continue to struggle, carrying the weight of her choices for the rest of her life. She would watch from the periphery as Nathan grew into adulthood, present but forever changed in his eyes. She would work jobs beneath her abilities, live in homes less comfortable than she once enjoyed, and perhaps always wonder what might have been if she hadn't succumbed to temptation. And I would continue forward, changed but not broken by betrayal, raising our son with the values that Amanda had once shared: honesty, integrity, responsibility. The life I had planned was gone, but the one I was building held its own rewards. Deeper relationships, greater self-knowledge, and the quiet pride of having weathered a storm that might have destroyed a lesser man. In the end, Amanda's text message, "I am not your property," had contained an unintended truth. She wasn't my property. She was a flawed, complex human being who had made catastrophic choices and was living with their consequences. And I was not her victim, but a man who had found the strength to rebuild when everything familiar had been stripped away. That was the lesson I hoped Nathan would carry with him. Strength isn't about controlling others or never being hurt. It's about surviving the hurt and continuing to live with integrity. It's about protecting what matters without becoming bitter. It's about finding peace, even when the life you planned has been shattered. Amanda would never find that peace. Her text messages continued to arrive sporadically, sometimes angry, sometimes despairing, sometimes pleading for a reconciliation that would never come. She drifted between jobs, relationships, and apartments, never finding stable ground. Her supervised visitations with Nathan gradually became less frequent as he grew older and busier with his own life. In her darkest moments, she would call me, voice slurred from alcohol, asking where she had gone wrong, how she could have thrown away everything that mattered for something so fleeting. I had no answers for her, only the quiet suggestion that she seek professional help, that it wasn't too late to build something meaningful from the ashes of her former life. She never did. The promising financial advisor who had once commanded respect in boardrooms became a cautionary tale, a woman defined by her worst choices rather than her potential. And as Nathan grew into adulthood, graduating high school, entering college, building his own life, Amanda remained trapped in the past, unable to move beyond what she had lost. I, meanwhile, found unexpected joy in my reconfigured life. A promotion at work, a small house with a garden, eventually a relationship with a kind, straightforward woman who accepted my complicated history without judgment. Small pleasures that accumulated into a life I hadn't planned but had come to deeply appreciate. When Nathan left for college, Amanda called me in tears. "He's really gone," she sobbed. "My baby's gone, and I missed everything important. First steps, first day of school, learning to drive. I threw it all away, Michael. For what? For nothing." "He's not gone," I told her gently. "He's just growing up. That's what kids are supposed to do." "He'll never forgive me," she whispered. "Not really. That's between you and him," I said. "But Nathan has a good heart. Give him time." Time, however, was something Amanda had run out of. 6 months later, she was found in her apartment, empty pill bottles on the nightstand. Her note was brief. "I'm sorry for everything. Please tell Nathan I loved him more than my own life. Michael, you were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was too blind to see it. Find happiness. You deserve it." At her small funeral, Nathan stood beside me, tall and solemn in his first suit. Her sister spoke briefly about Amanda's struggles and her love for her son. Former colleagues were noticeably absent. The financial scandal had permanently severed those connections. In death, as in her final years, Amanda stood largely alone, defined by the mistakes that had derailed her life rather than the potential she had once possessed. As we left the cemetery, Nathan asked quietly, "Did she ever find peace, Dad?" I put my arm around his shoulders. this remarkable young man who had somehow emerged resilient and compassionate despite the fractures in his foundation. I don't think so, buddy. But that doesn't mean you can't remember the good parts of her. Before everything went wrong, she loved you very much. I know, he nodded. I just wish. I wish things had been different. So do I admitted. But we can't change the past. We can only learn from it. Akafamat,